Hello everybody and welcome back to the second shelf and to another Sunday's video with recent reads, and this time all in the theme of mystery. Because as you know, if you are watching BookTube, March is Mystery Madness month. There are a bunch of booktubers who organize this event. There's a Goodreads group, there's a Twitter account. I will leave a link to one video down below, and that's Steve's video over at Steve Donahue. He made a video about what is a mystery, and in the comment section of the video, in the description box of the video, you find links to all the hosts who are participating in this event, and I will also leave a link to the Goodreads group. But I looked at my recent reads and I thought I'd pick the ones that fit the mystery madness, the ones I liked. So to give you some suggestions if you want to participate in March Mystery Madness, or if you are interested in crime fiction or reading about crime in general. And the first book I want to talk to you about is a book you might have heard if you're following BookTube and Twitter, because it got quite some hype some time ago. And that book is Jane Harper's debut crime novel, The Dry, first published in 2016. Now, Jane Harper is an Australian author. She worked as a journalist for print media for over a decade, and then she took a creative writing course and decided to write a crime novel, The Dry. The book got, as I said, quite some hype, and you know, if you're following my channel for any length of time, that I'm always reluctant if there's a hype. It took me quite a while until I bought the book, because I read it only recently in February, so 2 years, or almost 2 years after it was first published, but the hype was right. It's a fantastic book. Now, the book introduces a new police officer, Aaron Falk, or Falk. I don't know how you Australians pronounce his last name, so I will call him Aaron for the purpose of this video. He is in his mid-30s, 36, 37 something. He works in Melbourne for the federal police, investigating fraud, financial crime, money laundering, things like that. But the book is set in his hometown. It's a small town somewhere, out there, outback in Australia, Kiawara. I will not pronounce that one again. And Aaron goes there to attend a funeral of Luke Holder, his best friend when he was a teenager. Aaron left Melbourne together with his father about 20 years ago because something happened that had something to do with the death of a friend of Luke's and Aaron's, Ellie. So we have, first of all, Luke's death, which is an horrific death because somebody killed Luke, his wife, and his young boy, Billy. The only survivor of the family is the baby girl, Charlotte. Now, the official version is that Luke killed himself and his family. But Luke's parents want Aaron to investigate. The main theme through the novel is threefold. First of all, we have Aaron, who reluctantly, together with the new police chief of the small town Racco, starts to investigate, look into Luke's death and find out whether in fact Luke killed himself and his family or whether somebody else is to blame. We have this unexplained death of the friend, Ellie, 20 years ago. And as an atmospheric theme, we have the dry, because there is an unusual drought in Australia. The farmers are struggling. There's danger of wildfire. So we have these three elements, which together, I think, really make for a fantastic book. The clues are intelligent, only very, very, very occasionally a bit heavy-handed if you read a lot of crime fiction, that is. The solution, I think, is very satisfying, with partly a solution, partly sort of an open end. And Jane Harper tells us the story by telling it in the now from the perspective of Aaron, but also giving us bits and pieces of what happened 20 years ago from various perspectives, from Luke's perspective, from Ellie's perspective, the girl who later died. So you, as a reader, you slowly piece together what happened, and she does that in a really, really intelligent way. Jane Harper, I mean, in a really intelligent way. The novel is well written, so it's, even though it was hyped, it's a good book. Jane Harper then published the second book in the series, because Aaron is a new policeman in the series, which is called Force of Nature, which was published just now in 2018. And I have to say, the second book is not half as good as the first. It's an okay crime novel. We meet Aaron again, this time investigating the disappearance of a young woman called Alice Russell while hiking with a group of people. It's a company, weekend, team building, shit like that. And one of the women disappeared, and Aaron, who has connection with this woman because of his investigation of money laundering and fraud, starts to investigate also the disappearance. So it's okay. It's not a bad read. You read it quickly, and but I thought it showed that the second book came too quickly after the success of the first, because a lot of the structural themes that Jane Harper employed in the first book are just copied, copy pasted and done again, and it's not very inventive. And the character of Aaron is just your regular sort of, typical policeman, whereas in The Dry, there is really something to his personality, about his past, his relationship with his father. So if you just want to have a quick, easy read, crime novel, The Force of Nature is okay. But I'm hoping that Jane Harper, because she showed so much talent with her first book, that she will take a little time until she publishes the third one, and that the publisher will give her the time so that she can really think about what she wants to do with her main character. But The Dry is certainly worthwhile, and if you want to have a laugh, by the way, I will leave a link down below to a video done by David over at the Posthumus, who is a fantastic booktuber, and he cracks me up every time when I watch a video. And he made a video about, the successful novels, and he talks, among other things, about The Dry. But anyway, so the first one I can highly recommend is The Dry. Force of Nature, not so much, but it's an okay book. The second book I want to talk to you about and recommend to you is for those of you who either want to delve into some classic mystery writer, or if you're interested in the more historical fiction kind of mystery. And that book is Josephine, The Daughter of Time. It was first published in 1951, and it is the fifth in a series, the Inspector Alan Grant series, but you don't have to read the first four to read and enjoy The Daughter of Time. Josephine was a Scottish crime writer. She wrote, as I said, the Alan Grant mystery series, but also other standalone crime books. She's one of my favorite modern classic mystery writers, and I think if you're interested in her, the fifth book, The Daughter of Time, is a good place to start. In this book, we find our main protagonist, Inspector Alan Grant, in the hospital. He broke his leg in a previous case, and he's confined to the hospital. He can't do anything. He's bored out of his wits. And in order to keep him occupied, people come and bring him things, books and pictures. And one of the pictures that he is brought by accident is a portrait of Richard III, the infamous king in the late 1500s, who is, infamous, especially after Shakespeare wrote his play Richard III, because Richard III is believed to have killed his two young nephews, the princes in the tower. He's supposed to have killed many other people, and Alan Grant in his hospital bed. He can't go anywhere, but he decides to investigate whether or not Richard III is actually a murderer. The book is funny. It's really, well written in the time. It's set after the Second World War. The characters we meet, the friends of Alan Grant, they're hilarious characters. But it's also a really good mystery book. And it's special not only because it's investigating a crime that happened couple of hundred years ago, but because the inspector can't really go anywhere. So it's one of a kind, I would say. And if you, like I said, want to start reading Josephine Tye's books, or if you're interested in Richard III, then The Daughter of Time is a highly recommended book, and I'm sure you will be entertained. And the third book I want to talk to you about is a combination of a little bit of sci-fi and a crime novel. In other words, it's a crime novel set in the future, and I'm talking about The Ice by Laline Paull. It was first published in 2017, and just this past January, the paperback came out. Now, you might have heard or even read Laline Paull with her debut novel, which came out in 2014, The Bees. The main character is Fiona, a worker bee in the future, and we follow her life and adventures. It's a very chilling book about, how the future could look. But anyway, her second book, The Ice, is also set in the near future. We don't know quite when, but we know that the Arctic ice has melted, and there is a whole tourist industry taking advantage of that. Rich people going to the Arctic looking for the last polar bears. And we meet our main character, Sean Carson, who runs one of these exclusive lodges in the Arctic, who has done that for some time. And the book opens when a body is discovered in the ice, and it's the body of Tom Harding, who is our main character's best friend. They met in Oxford, and Tom died in an accident a couple of years prior, in an accident that Sean survived. So the book is about the investigation of Tom's death after his body is discovered, and Sean's role in this death is the main mystery arc that we follow. But we also learn something about the Arctic. In the book, there are journal entries of Arctic explorers from previous centuries. So we learn also something about the environment, and it's. Yeah, I can't say it's a fantastic mystery. I would be wrong to tell you it's a fantastic mystery. But I liked it because it was something different. First of all, because it's set in the near future, but a future we can imagine with the ice caps, the polar ice having melted. I mean, we all can imagine that. So it's this icy surroundings that really drew me into the book, and I thought the mystery was good. It was not outstanding, but it was good. So if you're looking for a mystery book with a sci-fi twist, I think you might enjoy The Ice. And the last book I want to talk to you about is for those of you who might be interested in true crime stories. And that book is Sarah Perry's After the Eclipse, which came out in September of last year. Just for clarification purposes, Sarah Perry is this Sarah Perry is an American author. She is done nonfiction work. She works for the University of Columbia. So it's not the Essex-born Sarah Perry who wrote The Essex Serpent, just to clarify. Anyway, so Sarah Perry wrote a memoir about her mother's death. Her mother was murdered when Sarah was 12 in 1994. And it took 12 years to find the killer. The memoir tells us about obviously Sarah's life, but also Crystal's, her mother's life, her background, family background. She has like 10 siblings or something. She grew up in a quite a strange household, you might say. We meet Crystal's first husband, Tom, Sarah's father, the divorce. So it's a mixture of, we learn a lot about the background, Crystal's background. We learn the day or the night of the murder. Sarah was present in the house when her mother was murdered. She heard it, but she didn't see the killer. But I would say the main portion of the book is what happened to Sarah after her mother was murdered. She was taken in first by a friend, then she was moved around with various family members, and all the while the investigation went on. Some of Crystal's ex-boyfriends or present boyfriends were considered suspects, and in the end the killer was found and tried and convicted. So there is some sort of happy end, but beware. What I really liked about the book, why I thought it was a good book, is that it made clear the impact that this obviously all had on Sarah's life, but it also revealed what a trial and a conviction of the murderer can do, and especially what it can't, because there will be questions unanswered even after the murderer has been found and has been tried and convicted. It's written in a very engaging style, not detached, that would not be the right word, but I think Sarah Perry did a really good job in telling us the story with a personal touch, but still it's not, excuse my word, a sob story, if you know what I mean. So if you are into true crime, a memoir of a murder victim's daughter and the search for the killer, then I think after the Eclipse, you will enjoy, quote unquote, the read. So this was it for my March Mystery Madness suggestions. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know whether any of the books that I've mentioned appeal to you, or whether you want to participate in March Mystery Madness and have books you want to share with me. And I'll see you all soon in my next video. Bye-bye.